Welcome everyone. Have you ever walked past someone and completely missed the incredible story they carry inside? What if the person you overlooked was the key to changing everything around them? Today's story will open your eyes to the hidden brilliance that's all around us, and it just might change the way you see the world forever. Before we dive in, don't forget to like this video, share and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories that uplift and empower. Your support means the world to us and we want to bless you for it. So, let us take a moment to pray for every one of you who likes, subscribes, and supports this community. May you be blessed with good health and strength each day. May ease flow into every part of your life, and may you find freedom from every debt and burden. For those facing difficulties, may solutions come swiftly and clearly. For the sick and weary, may healing and peace be upon you. And may joy and hope fill your heart always. Now we want to hear from you. After the story, please leave a comment below and share your thoughts, your experiences, or who you think deserves to be seen and recognized in your life. Your voice matters. Let's get started. Boston's financial district never truly slept. Even as the day's crowds vanished into the amber wash of street lamps and traffic dwindled to a soft murmur, the steel towers and glass facades remained lit from within, glowing like embers of a fire not yet ready to die. Inside the Sterling and Penrose Tower, the janitorial staff began their slow, rhythmic ballet. Polishing marble, emptying bins, whispering greetings in passing. At the heart of that team was a woman few noticed, until they needed something. Her name was Gloria Freeman. Gloria was in her early 50s, short with a sturdy build, her dark brown skin kissed by time and labor. Her thick, graying curls were always tied up under a plain blue headscarf. She wore the night shift uniform with quiet pride, dark slacks, work boots, and a button-up shirt with a small tag that read Gloria. She moved with purpose, always humming softly as she worked. Not from joy or boredom, but memory. Gloria remembered melodies from old jazz records her father used to play, rhythms from faraway cities she'd once walked as a different version of herself. No one asked about that version. They saw only the mop. At 2:27 in the morning, Gloria stood in the executive conference room on the 28th floor. The view overlooked the harbor, fog curling around the water like an old ghost. She sprayed down the glass table and wiped it in long practiced strokes. Then she paused. A document folder sat open on the table. Most would have ignored it. Gloria didn't. Her eyes scanned the pages, contracts in Portuguese, French, and a few in oddly formatted Arabic. She frowned. Some translations were wrong. Very wrong. Phrases that distorted meaning, shifting entire intentions. Her fingers itched to correct them. So she did. She pulled a small notepad from her pocket and scribbled precise corrections beside each error. When she finished, she placed the note inside the folder and left the room quietly, humming again as she walked away. By noon the next day, the building buzzed. Someone upstairs had found the note. There were questions. Who corrected these contracts? Legal was baffled. The notes weren't just accurate, they were better than the work done by their own team. No one could trace the handwriting. Until someone from facilities recognized the name scribbled at the bottom. Gloria. That afternoon, Calvin Reed, the CEO of Sterling and Penrose, stood silently in front of the janitor log. He stared at Gloria's profile, a single photograph from years ago when she first applied, eyes calm, posture upright. He turned to the head of HR and asked one question. Has she ever been late? Not once, the reply came. That evening, as Gloria gathered her cart near the loading dock, a sleek black car pulled up. A driver stepped out, holding an envelope. Miss Freeman? He asked. Gloria wiped her hands on her cloth and nodded cautiously. You're requested for a meeting tomorrow. 10 a.m. sharp. Top floor. Here's the pass. He handed her a security badge with a gold stripe across the top. Gloria took it, expression unreadable. That night she didn't sleep. She boiled tea and sat by her window, overlooking a tiny backyard she shared with 3 other tenants in Roxbury. Her calloused hands rested on her lap. In her closet, under folded linens, lay degrees in linguistics and cultural studies. Forgotten interviews. A stack of rejection letters. None of it had mattered, not until now. 10 a.m. arrived like a drumbeat. She wore the same uniform. Walked through the same lobby. But this time the elevator carried her all the way to the top. Executive floor. The doors opened to glass, gold trim, and polished silence. Calvin Reed was waiting. He was tall and lean, late 40s, with sharp cheekbones and a gaze that measured everything. He extended a hand. You're Gloria. She nodded. I read your notes, he said. They were perfect. Just corrections, she replied. They saved us from 3 lawsuits and a potential breach with our Brazilian partners. She said nothing. He gestured to the empty chair across from him. I want to offer you something. The role. Cultural liaison. International affairs. Gloria's eyes flickered. I'm not trained for that anymore. You were trained once. You've been ready longer than anyone we've hired. She hesitated. Why me? Because no one else saw what I did, he said. And we need that kind of vision now. There was a long pause. Gloria took a breath. All right, she said. Let's see what I can do. They shook hands. It wasn't just a handshake. It was history quietly rewriting itself on the 28th floor of a Boston skyscraper. But what neither of them expected was how the rest of the building would react. Word travels fast in a tower like Sterling and Penrose. Whispers filled the elevators, slipped through security desks, and buzzed inside break rooms like static on a poorly tuned radio. By noon the next day, nearly everyone had heard. Gloria Freeman had been summoned to the top floor and didn't come back the same. She hadn't been fired. She hadn't been reprimanded. She had been promoted. No one could quite explain how or why. Some speculated favoritism. Others joked it was a mix-up. But as Gloria walked through the marble lobby that afternoon, now in a navy blue blazer and neatly pressed slacks, no one dared laugh. Her badge now shimmered with the gold stripe of executive clearance. She carried herself with the same calm grace as before, only now with something extra behind her eyes. Authority earned, not granted. She returned to her shift that evening, not out of obligation but choice. She insisted on finishing what she had started. I'll transition gradually, she told her new assistant, a recent Boston University graduate named Kiara Valdez. But floors don't clean themselves. Kiara, barely 23, stared at her, stunned. You still clean? Gloria smiled. Nothing wrong with cleaning. It helps you see who leaves a mess and who tries to cover it. That night, a new rhythm began. By day, Gloria entered high-level meetings with legal teams, foreign investors, and board members. By night, she slipped back into corridors and stairwells, sometimes with a clipboard, sometimes with a mop. People noticed. Take Leon Packard, the cynical mailroom manager with a perpetually crooked tie and a drawer full of conspiracy theories. He watched Gloria closely. She's playing both sides, he muttered over lunch. Can't trust someone who doesn't choose a lane. Then there was Clara Nash, head of operations. Late 40s, crisp white shirts and sharper opinions. She didn't like surprises. And Gloria was a surprise with polished shoes. I want a background check, Clara told her secretary. A deep one. If she's going to sit in on foreign deals, I want to know where she really came from. The truth was complicated. 2 decades earlier, Gloria had been Dr. Gloria Freeman, a rising academic star in international relations, focused on Afro-diasporic languages and negotiation strategies. Her lectures filled halls. Her papers redefined how diplomats viewed cultural nuance. Then a scandal, fabricated, devastating, and quietly buried. A jealous colleague. A forged email. Her career crumbled. Institutions turned their backs. So Gloria left. Not just the field but the name. She returned to Boston, where no one remembered her, and took work where her mind could roam while her hands stayed busy. She never corrected anyone who called her just the janitor. It gave her the freedom to observe. That habit stayed with her, even as her office moved to the 29th floor. She'd sit in on meetings and say little at first, letting the language wash over her. The phrasing, the tone, the gaps in understanding between American arrogance and international caution. It was in one such meeting with a delegation from Morocco that Gloria made her mark. The translator struggled. Sentences came out muddled. The client's face tightened. Gloria leaned forward. She spoke softly, fluently, switching between Arabic and Darija with such fluidity that the Moroccan CEO leaned back, his eyes wide. He laughed. The tension broke. The deal was signed 2 days later. Calvin Reed was thrilled. You just salvaged a $250,000 partnership, he said over coffee. Gloria just stirred her cup. They didn't want money. They wanted respect. By week's end, Gloria had her own team, Kiara, an IT specialist named Min who handled secure communication systems, and a translator in training named Jonah who idolized her. But tension was building. Clara Nash's investigation had unearthed fragments of Gloria's past. Old articles, canceled lectures, a whispered scandal from years ago. Clara stood in front of the executive board, folder in hand. She lied, Clara said. She covered her identity. We can't trust her. Calvin listened. When Clara finished, he closed the folder and placed it aside. She didn't lie, he said. She protected herself. And that doesn't concern you? It would concern me more if she hadn't. Clara left the room, her heels striking the floor like a gavel. That evening, Gloria sat alone in the nearly empty cafeteria, sipping miso soup. Kiera joined her, fidgeting with her tablet. People are talking, Kiera said. They always do, Gloria replied. You're not worried? Gloria smiled, but it was a tired smile. Worry doesn't change truth, she said. And truth finds its way through the cracks, even in marble floors. From that moment, Kiera began recording everything Gloria did, not to expose her, but to remember, to learn. She realized she wasn't just assisting a new executive. She was witnessing the rise of someone who had never fallen. She'd only been hidden. The 29th floor was quiet at dawn. Most executives arrived by 8, but Gloria preferred earlier hours. There was something about the silence of a skyscraper before the city woke up. It felt like truth lived in those moments, unshaped by ego or performance. She had kept her janitor's master key, a gift unofficially from the custodial supervisor who once said, "You see more than you say, and that's the kind of quiet I trust." With that key, she walked the building before sunrise, not to spy but to understand. By the time the first employees filtered into the lobby, Gloria had already reviewed the logistics report, flagged 2 irregularities in shipping invoices, and helped the delivery crew untangle a jammed freight elevator. She arrived at her office with calloused hands and a mind already 3 steps ahead of the morning agenda. Meanwhile, Kiera had become both assistant and apprentice. She had grown used to Gloria's pace, unhurried yet impossible to match. "Did you look at the Port Charles file?" Kiera asked as she entered with 2 coffees. Gloria took one and nodded. "They're laundering funds through false consulting agreements. Sloppy. They're depending on us not reading the fine print." Kiera stared. "That took me 3 hours to figure out." Gloria smiled. "You'll get faster. But never skip the part that feels boring. That's where they hide things." Their partnership was seamless. Gloria taught through questions rather than lectures. She'd ask Kiera to read a contract aloud, then pause and say, "What didn't they say?" Or, "Why did they use that word?" In these interactions, Kiera began to see the deeper game being played at Sterling and Penrose. It wasn't just about money or strategy. It was about influence. Language was currency. Respect was leverage. And Gloria had mastered both. But not everyone was ready to accept that. Clara Nash, who had worked at the firm for 15 years, felt increasingly undermined. Her allies in the firm, mostly other long-timers who saw Gloria's rise as a disruption, gathered around her in quiet conversations that smelled like old coffee and cold contempt. "She's dangerous," Clara said during a closed-door meeting. "Not because she's wrong. Because she's unpredictable." "Are you saying she's unstable?" asked a senior legal partner. "No," Clara replied. "I'm saying she doesn't play by rules she didn't write." Still, Clara knew gossip alone wouldn't move Gloria. She needed proof. Or scandal. She dug deeper. Meanwhile, Kiera stumbled upon something unexpected while helping archive documents. In a forgotten folder buried in the legacy servers, she found scanned letters from the early 2000s. They were written on faded university stationery, Harvard, Princeton, Howard, and all referenced a woman named Dr. Gloria Freeman. Not just mentioned, praised. Her work had shaped entire diplomatic stances in West Africa. She had spoken at summits, drafted resolutions for international organizations. Her name had been whispered in embassies and echoed in negotiation rooms. "Gloria," Kiera said the next morning, sliding the folder across the desk, "why didn't you tell me?" Gloria barely glanced at the papers. "Because those things aren't who I am now. But they're part of it." "Yes," Gloria said softly. "But they weren't safe." She leaned back in her chair, eyes on the ceiling. "I built a life where no one could use what I knew against me. I became invisible. That gave me power. Now I have to decide what kind of power to keep." That afternoon, Calvin Reed called an emergency leadership meeting. The Port Charles issue had escalated. A whistleblower confirmed Gloria's suspicions. Fraud. Exploitation. The firm could be implicated if it didn't act fast. Clara saw her opportunity. She stood and said, "The woman leading this charge has a hidden identity. A hidden past. That puts our credibility at risk." All eyes turned to Gloria. She stood slowly. "I was erased," she said, voice calm but commanding. "Once by lies. I rebuilt my life not with vengeance but vigilance. And now that I'm here, you can choose whether to use what I know, or keep pretending I don't know it." No one spoke. Even Clara was silent. Calvin leaned forward. "We move forward," he said. "With Gloria." Clara's mouth tightened, but she said nothing. Later that night, Gloria found herself alone on the 16th floor. She walked past the office where she had once cleaned and paused at the window. Boston glowed beneath her, full of stories and shadows. Kiera found her there. "You okay?" Gloria nodded. "Just remembering how much dust a city can hide." She turned. "But dust tells a story too." Rain traced slow rivers down the windows of the 31st floor as the city hummed below. The tension that followed Gloria's revelation had not lifted. Instead, it thickened like fog at harbor's edge, quiet, but concealing more than it revealed. For the first time, Gloria Freeman noticed silence when she entered a room. Some looked away. Others stared too long. She was no longer invisible. But she was not yet understood. Still, the Port Charles fallout kept her indispensable. 3 more accounts were frozen. A client from Madrid demanded emergency arbitration. The press caught a scent of the scandal, and legal teams scrambled to compose public statements with language tight enough to hold under scrutiny. And through it all, Gloria moved like she always had, with calm precision. But in the back of her mind, something else stirred. The documents Kiera found had unlocked a gate Gloria had kept sealed for years. One night, she returned to her apartment, a modest space in Roxbury cluttered with books and low light, and opened a drawer beneath her bed. From it, she pulled an envelope, old with worn edges. It bore no return address. Inside was a letter, one she never shared. It was from Emmanuel, the last letter. "The night they came for us, I knew we'd never be the same. I told them everything was mine, not yours. I thought they would spare you. They didn't. If you are reading this, I pray you have found somewhere to begin again. Do not let what they stole shape what you give. You are more than the world's opinion of you. Keep building. Keep knowing. You always said truth was a kind of architecture. Build cathedrals with it." Gloria folded the letter and pressed her forehead to it. She never told Kiera what it said. But the next morning she arrived at Sterling and Penrose wearing her old brooch. The same one she wore during her years as a constitutional advisor. Small, silver, shaped like an open book. Few noticed it, but those who did felt the shift. Clara certainly did. And Clara had not forgotten the old servers. Her team found fragments of international cases, names of organizations Gloria once worked for, and contracts that were confidential but not deleted. That same day, Clara submitted an anonymous report to a journalist at the Boston Register. By the following morning, headlines flickered across phone screens and monitors. Former diplomatic advisor reappears in Boston corporate powerhouse. Whispers became shouts. The board called an emergency session. Calvin was livid, not because of Gloria's past but because of how it was exposed. "I told you," Clara said quietly as the board filed into the conference room. "She's a liability." "No," Calvin replied. "She's the only one who saw this mess before it happened. The liability is your fear." Inside the boardroom, Gloria sat at the end of the long glass table. Light from the windows cast sharp lines across her face. "I won't apologize for surviving," she began. "But I will explain. Years ago, my work threatened people who valued silence over truth. They rewrote my story, then erased me from it. I came here with the intention of building a life out of reach from all that." Pause. "But justice has a way of finding its voice again. Sometimes through whispers. Sometimes through dust." The board was silent. Then a partner from the London office cleared his throat. "You're saying you were framed?" "I'm saying," Gloria replied, "that I was inconvenient." The room shifted. Subtle nods. Uneasy shuffling. Then unexpectedly, Kiera stood up from her chair at the back. "We are all beneficiaries of someone else's silence," she said. "We owe more to those who speak again even when it costs them." After the meeting, Gloria returned to her office to find something unexpected. An envelope. No name. Inside, a single sheet of paper. "We know who you are. And we remember what they did. You are not alone." It was unsigned. But Gloria knew the meaning. Her past wasn't just returning. It was gathering. The morning sun spilled pale light over Boston Harbor as Gloria Freeman sat at her desk, the unsigned note resting beside her keyboard like a silent challenge. She traced her finger over the neat, confident handwriting. Someone was watching. Someone was on her side. But who? The question settled heavily in the room. In the days that followed, a quiet energy grew within the walls of Sterling and Penrose. Gloria noticed subtle shifts. Colleagues who once avoided her now paused in the hallways to offer a nod or a brief smile. An email from an anonymous sender appeared in her inbox, containing data about similar cases of corporate sabotage, buried deep in outdated files. The sender's message was simple: "You're not the only one." Kiera continued to be her steadfast ally. The intern's curiosity was matched now by determination, as she dug into the company's archives, unearthing documents that tied the current crises to patterns of deliberate obstruction stretching back years. One afternoon, while reviewing translated contracts for the Asia-Pacific division, Gloria received a call from a number she didn't recognize. "Miss Freeman," a calm, measured voice said, "you don't know me, but I've been following your journey. I have information that could protect you and expose those who want you silenced." Gloria's heart quickened, but her voice remained steady. "I'm listening." The caller explained that within Sterling and Penrose, a group of mid-level employees had banded together in secret, sharing intelligence and resources to push back against the toxic forces undermining the company and Gloria's role within it. They called themselves the Quiet Resistance. "They want you to know," the caller said, "that you're not alone. That there are people here who believe in transparency, justice, and the real power of voice." The line went dead. For the first time in weeks, Gloria allowed herself a small smile. But the path ahead was still steep. Later that day, Eleanor Craig reappeared in the building, her presence like a cold wind through the corridors. Word had spread of her return, and whispers of resistance grew louder. Gloria prepared herself for the inevitable confrontation, knowing that this battle would demand every ounce of courage and resilience she possessed. At the same time, the company's new training initiative, Voice Inside, launched quietly but with growing momentum. Gloria had helped shape the program into a beacon for employees whose talents had been overlooked, creating a space where language, culture, and leadership could flourish beyond traditional corporate boundaries. The first workshop was held in a modest conference room, where Gloria stood before a diverse group of staff, sharing her story, not as a tale of triumph but as a call to awaken. She spoke about unseen brilliance, about the quiet power in every individual waiting for recognition. "Talent has no dress code," she said softly. "Intelligence does not need permission. And sometimes the most extraordinary leaders walk past us wearing uniforms, holding tools we fail to notice." Her words resonated deeply. Afterward, a young man approached her, eyes shining with gratitude. "My mother is a janitor," he said. "She never told us about her past, but hearing your story, I understand now. I'm proud." Gloria nodded, feeling the weight of 1,000 unspoken stories resting in that moment. Outside the training room, a fresh note appeared on the whiteboard: "Keep building. We stand with you." The quiet resistance was growing, and Gloria Freeman was ready. The days stretched into weeks, and the energy in the Sterling and Penrose building shifted in subtle but unmistakable ways. Gloria Freeman's presence was no longer a quiet anomaly but a growing force that stirred conversations and challenged old norms. Yet, the resistance from the upper echelons, led by Eleanor Craig, had not vanished. It lurked in whispered meetings, cautious glances, and veiled threats. Gloria found herself navigating a tightrope between fierce determination and strategic diplomacy. She spent long hours reviewing contracts, communicating with international partners, and mentoring new interns. Each task was a reminder of how far she had come, and how much work still remained. One crisp autumn morning, she stepped into a high-level meeting with European executives. The tension was palpable as the group debated terms that had stalled for months. Gloria's calm confidence, her fluency in French and German, and her deep understanding of cultural nuances turned the tide. She reframed the conversation from conflict to collaboration, reminding everyone that trust was the foundation of all business. After the meeting, an executive approached her quietly. "Your insight is invaluable, Miss Freeman. It's clear you belong here." The words felt like a small victory, but Gloria knew the true test was yet to come. Back at her office, a message from the Quiet Resistance arrived, an invitation to a discreet gathering of allies. The group included employees from various departments, each one eager to see the company embrace transparency and inclusion. They shared stories, strategies, and a shared belief in change. Kiera, ever eager, became one of the group's most passionate advocates. She worked closely with Gloria to expand the Voice Inside program, securing additional funding and support from some sympathetic board members. Meanwhile, Eleanor Craig's opposition escalated. She proposed new policies aimed at limiting the influence of employees without traditional credentials. Her words carried weight in the boardroom, sowing doubt among some leaders. Gloria prepared a response, not just in words but in results. She compiled a comprehensive report detailing the improvements in vendor relations, contract negotiations, and employee morale since her arrival. The report highlighted real numbers and testimonials, undeniable proof that the company's future depended on valuing diverse voices. At the quarterly board meeting, Gloria was invited to present. She stood before the room, steady and composed. "I am not here to ask for acceptance," she said. "I am here to show what is possible when we listen, when we believe in the potential of every individual. This company's success is not just about titles or degrees. It is about people, our people." The room was silent, then filled with cautious applause. Some faces softened, others remained guarded. Afterward, Eleanor approached Gloria, her sharp eyes less cold but still wary. "You've made your point," she said quietly. "For now." Gloria nodded. "Change is never easy, but it is necessary." That evening, as she looked out over the Boston skyline from her office window, Gloria felt the weight of the struggle but also a surge of hope. The quiet resistance was no longer so quiet. It was a movement, one that would not be easily stopped. The winter months settled over Boston, frosting the streets with ice and draping the city in quiet stillness. Inside the Sterling and Penrose building, a different kind of energy buzzed, tense, hopeful, determined. Gloria Freeman's rise had not gone unnoticed. She was no longer just the unexpected cultural liaison. She had become a symbol, a catalyst for change in a company that had long resisted it. Her pilot program, Voice Inside, was gaining momentum, offering language classes, leadership mentoring, and visibility to employees who had been overlooked for years. On a gray morning, Gloria arrived early to prepare for a keynote speech at a national leadership summit in Boston's Convention Center. The room would be filled with industry leaders, executives, and aspiring professionals, all eager to hear her story. She reviewed her notes one last time, but her message remained clear and simple. Talent transcends titles, intelligence requires no permission, and brilliance often hides behind the most unexpected faces. The hall filled quickly. When Gloria stepped onto the stage, the spotlight was warm but the weight of expectation was heavier. She took a breath and began. "I wasn't always seen," she said, voice steady and warm. "I was a janitor in this very building, passing unnoticed in the hallways and rooms where decisions were made. But I was fluent. I was capable. I was ready. The difference was no one looked long enough to see." She spoke not of struggle alone, but of resilience, potential, and the urgent need to recognize and elevate voices from every level. The audience listened in silence, some nodding, others wiping away tears. After the speech, a young man approached her, eyes shining with emotion. "My mother cleans offices," he said quietly. "She's brilliant and speaks 5 languages. I never knew that was something to be proud of until now." Gloria smiled, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Never be ashamed of where you come from. The real shame is closing your eyes to the brilliance around you." Back at Sterling and Penrose, Gloria returned to a company beginning to shift beneath the surface. Some doors were opening wider, some walls slowly crumbling. Yet resistance remained. Eleanor Craig's shadow lingered in board meetings, in cautious whispers, in policy proposals designed to slow change. But Gloria was no longer alone. Kiera and others had stepped forward, carrying the torch. The Voice Inside program was expanding beyond language training. It became a movement, a statement, a promise. One afternoon, Gloria found a note on her desk, simple and powerful. "We see you. We stand with you." No signature, but the message was clear. She looked out again at the city skyline, this time with a quiet smile. The journey was far from over. The battles were still ahead. But the path was open, and the voices once silent were finally being heard. The end. Here are 7 moral lessons drawn from this story. Moral lesson 1. Never judge worth by appearances or titles. One of the strongest messages in this story is the reminder that talent, intelligence, and potential cannot be measured by what someone wears, their job title, or their background. Gloria Freeman's journey shows us how easily brilliance can be hidden behind a janitor's uniform or a quiet demeanor. We often pass people every day without knowing their full story or capabilities. This lesson urges us to look beyond the surface and recognize that everyone carries unique value. When we give others the chance to show their true selves, we enrich not only their lives but also our communities and workplaces. Moral lesson 2. Resilience and perseverance are keys to success. Gloria's story highlights how resilience, the ability to keep going despite setbacks and underestimation, is essential. She endured years of invisibility, doubt, and struggle, yet never gave up. Her perseverance, fueled by inner strength and self-belief, paved the way for her breakthrough. Life often tests us with obstacles and discouragement, but those who persist, who continue to show up and work hard even when unseen, often find doors opening in unexpected ways. This lesson encourages patience, endurance, and trust in oneself even in difficult times. Moral lesson 3. Opportunity should be given to those who are ready, not just those with credentials. The story challenges traditional ideas about qualifications and the right path to leadership. Gloria had no formal degree or corporate training, but her skills, cultural knowledge, and fluency made her the best candidate for the role. This teaches us that credentials do not always tell the whole story, and that opportunity should be based on real ability, passion, and readiness rather than just paper qualifications. It calls on organizations and individuals to rethink how they identify and nurture talent. Moral lesson 4. Leadership includes lifting others up. True leadership is not about status or control, it is about empowering others and creating space for diverse voices to be heard. Gloria's creation of the Voice Inside program exemplifies leadership that nurtures growth and visibility for people from all walks of life. When leaders lift others, they build stronger, more inclusive communities and workplaces. This lesson encourages us all to be leaders in everyday moments by mentoring, encouraging, and advocating for others. Moral lesson 5. Courage to challenge the status quo is necessary for change. Gloria's rise disrupted long-standing assumptions and power structures. It took courage to stand firm in the face of skepticism and push back against resistance. Change is rarely comfortable, and those who initiate it often face opposition. This story reminds us that meaningful progress requires bravery, to question norms, to take risks, and to hold on to one's truth even when others doubt or resist. It inspires us to be courageous in pursuing fairness and justice in our own spheres. Moral lesson 6. Representation matters deeply. Seeing someone like Gloria succeed sends a powerful message to others who have felt invisible or overlooked. Representation shows people that their dreams and talents are valid and achievable. The story demonstrates how one person's success can inspire a whole community to believe in itself and strive for more. This lesson highlights the importance of visibility, role models, and diverse voices in every field, because when more people see themselves reflected in leadership, the possibilities expand for everyone. Moral lesson 7. Brilliance and intelligence do not need permission. Perhaps the most profound lesson is that brilliance is inherent and does not require validation by others. Gloria never changed who she was to fit in. She brought her whole self, her history, her languages, and her unique perspective to the table. Intelligence and value do not wait for permission or approval. They simply exist and deserve recognition. This teaches us to own our worth confidently, to embrace our backgrounds and talents fully, and to share our gifts unapologetically with the world. Disclaimer: this story is entirely fictional. It is crafted to offer moral lessons, motivation, inspiration, and meaningful insights for viewers. Any resemblance to real persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. The purpose of this story is to encourage reflection and growth. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this story. I hope it inspired you, reminded you of your worth, and encouraged you to keep pushing forward no matter the obstacles. If this story spoke to you, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more powerful stories and uplifting messages. Don't forget to check out the other videos on the channel. There are many more stories waiting to inspire and motivate you. And if you feel moved, please leave a comment below sharing your thoughts or your own experiences. Remember, your story matters, and here you are always welcome. Until next time, take care and keep shining.